Well, it's beginning to look a lot like streaming Christmas movies everywhere you look. We've got three of the biggies to talk about: Spirited, A Christmas Story Christmas, and Falling for Christmas. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my Christmas streaming movie reviews for 2022. There are a ton out there already. Not only is it not even December, but when I'm recording this, we're still a few days away from Thanksgiving. So a little early for my taste, but there were some big ones coming out, so I figured let's kind of throw these all into one big review video. I don't think any of them really need their own review, except for perhaps Spirited. I probably could have done a 10-minute video just about that. Maybe that's with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. So anyway, yeah, I've picked out three of the biggies, and there's going to be more coming down the pike this year for streaming. Netflix, it seems like every week is releasing one or two of them. They're sort of getting in that Hallmark type of spirit. A lot of their movies have become a bit routine in the Christmas base. But Falling for Christmas is Lindsay Lohan's return to a major role, her first in almost 10 years. So I thought that was definitely noteworthy. And then the one we're going to talk about in the middle, HBO Max presents A Christmas Story Christmas. And that is the first real, official sequel with the original cast that we've gotten. We've gotten a couple of, side projects. A Christmas Story 2 does exist. I think it might have been direct-to-video or it might have been a TV movie or something, but it's out there, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the original Christmas Story, I don't think. It's got none of the original cast anyway. So, this movie largely forgets that. It's kind of like when they did that Dumb and Dumber one. I forget what that was called. Son of Dumb and Dumbers, or Dumb and Dumberer. That's what it was. I think maybe Jamie Kennedy was in it or something, but it's like it wasn't Lloyd and Harry. It was just two other people. Or I guess maybe it was. Was it when Lloyd met Harry? Well, whatever. Who cares? The point, although his name is Lloyd Christmas, so it plays in a little bit. But the point is that this Christmas Story is the first, really official sequel with the cast and the same characters and all of that. So anyway, we're going to do it sort of in the order that I think I have the most to say about it. And I think Spirited, like I said, could have probably gotten its own video, but figure we'll lump it in with these other two. So this is Will Ferrell as the Ghost of Christmas Present. So yes, this is another version of Christmas Carol, the Dickens classic, and they certainly are not shy about the references there. They are very self-aware. Look, it's a Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell movie, so what do we expect? But yeah, they are definitely on the page of like, okay, we know this is a Dickens story. They reference the Dickens work many times. In fact, they reference some of the other movies that have been made in that vein, like the Bill Murray Scrooged, which, used to be an annual favorite for me. But so anyway, he plays the Ghost of Christmas Present, and he's been doing the whole ghost haunting routine for a long, long time. In fact, he's been eligible for retirement in this vein for decades, but refuses to leave. He wants to, keep on helping these people out, discover who they really are. And next year's target, well, it turns out it's Ryan Reynolds, and he is the head of like this media sort of spin department. He's media consultant. He wants people to look good when there's a problem, and he wants to dig up dirt on competitors of his clients and stuff like that. So maybe not the nicest guy, maybe a little bit like Bill Murray. He was the head of a TV network, so sort of in that media vein. But anyway, this is a musical as well, and this is on Apple TV Plus. I don't think I mentioned that yet. This is the one of the three that I think would most certainly have been in a theater a few years ago, before we had all of the streaming services just, shoving new movies every single week down our throats, which, is fine for some. I work in the theater industry, so it's kind of been killing us. But, this did preview in theaters for about a week before it made its Apple TV debut. And I'll be honest, I wish I did see it in a big theater with a great crowd, because I think this is the kind of movie that you want to see with other people who are belly laughing along with you. So Octavia Spencer is also in this. I love her. There's a few cameos that I won't go into, but this is an interesting one because it actually does give us something new about the Dickens story. We've seen so many iterations of it, and I've probably only seen about four of them myself, but I know there's dozens, and of course we have all the the TV versions. Oh, Growing Pains. Kirk Cameron doesn't do his homework or whatever, so he gets visited by the three ghosts. I mean, it's been over and over and over again. But movie wise, I think I've maybe only seen four of the versions, um, but this not only turned it into a musical, so we've got that aspect, which is new, but the whole sort of behind the scenes with the ghost thing, that's really where we start the story. We don't even meet Ryan Reynolds for a few minutes in because we're getting the backstory on how the ghost department sort of works, and we see Jacob Marley kind of running things, and he is played, by the way, by Patrick Page, who you might know as the he's just done a lot of musicals, Seussical, and he was in that Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark musical. So you may have seen him pop up in different things or whatever. But in any event, great for a musical. There are too many musical numbers, and this movie knows it and references it. But I don't think that makes it okay. I think it's one thing to sort of reference a joke here or there. With a wink, but it's like if you're gonna talk about in your own movie how there's another song, and then launch into a 3-minute song, that's time that we don't necessarily need to spend on a song. But look, the songwriters here did The Greatest Showman. They contributed to La La Land. They did the latest musical in theaters, Lyle Lyle Crocodile. So a lot of these songs here are really catchy, really good. There's a couple of clear standouts that I think are funny and well performed. The choreography is great, but because there's a couple songs too many, it's probably a bit on the long side. It's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, which I think is a little bit long for a Christmas comedy movie. But Ryan Reynolds doing his thing. It's funny to me that I'm still not even remotely sick of Ryan Reynolds. I think one could be. And I don't think I would necessarily blame them for that because he is sort of always playing Ryan Reynolds, whether it's Free Guy or Deadpool or even when he was, Detective Pikachu. Like, okay, he's always Ryan Reynolds, but I still love it. So that may be a detractor for some. For me, not so much. Will Ferrell, I think he's a little more hit or miss for me. But I like the projects he's been picking lately. He's been doing some interesting and off the beaten path stuff. And would we have expected him to do another Christmas movie after making Elf, which is, I think, probably the most beloved new Christmas movie in the last 20 years, right? So it's interesting to me that he decided to return sort of to that well. But it doesn't seem like something we've seen before, because obviously in that he was playing Buddy the Elf. It was a very, very different thing. But yeah, overall, I thought this was really well done, very funny. I think it's too long, but this is one that I could certainly consider watching, as an annual sort. I don't really have too many annual holiday movies anymore. I do try and catch Home Alone once a year, still, but trying to catch all the other new movies out there. I don't have really a routine of like, let's watch these 10 Christmas movies every year. But this is one I could see making it into the rotation at some point. It was a lot of fun. I leave Spirited with a B+. And some interesting twists with it too. Not just the story on the whole. All right, next we will talk about A Christmas Story Christmas. This is on HBO Max. And I will give you some full disclosure here. I really don't like the original Christmas Story. I know it's a beloved movie, but it's also, I have found, to be one of the most divisive Christmas movies out there, because you obviously have this huge, passionate fan base. It runs on TV 24 hours on a couple of different channels on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. But I also know people like myself that really don't like it, can't stand it, saw it once maybe and didn't get it or whatever. For me, I've actually seen it twice, but long after it was out. I know it wasn't a huge hit when it was out anyway, and most of us at this point, it's 40 years old or whatever. Most of us have seen it, I think, on TV in subsequent viewings rather than in a theater or whatever. But I saw this for the first time probably in my mid 30s. So like everybody was already talking about it. It was already out there. All the lines, oh, you'll shoot your eye out, and the tongue on the flagpole or whatever, and the BB gun and all of that stuff. Fragile, we got it. So by the time I saw it, I was like, it's okay, but like I found Ralphie to be super annoying. And I love, like a cute kid in a movie, but I found him to be absolutely ridiculously annoying. And he's supposed to be the hit of the movie, the main character. So, but look, whatever, we're 35 years on or whatever. I'm all about a sequel, and many of the people returning from their original roles, mostly the kids though. So you've got Peter Billingsley returning as Ralphie. The other kids, most of them anyway, are also reprising their roles as the adult versions of themselves. The Ralphie's parents, the father has passed away, and so they actually wrote that into the script. And it's a major plot point really of the movie. And then the mother is still alive, but she hasn't acted in about 10 years, so I'm not sure. Maybe she's in ill health or something. So Julie Haggerty from Airplane and a bunch of the great 70s and 80s movies, she takes over for Ralphie's mother in this version of the movie. And essentially, he is living now in Chicago with his wife and kids. His wife played by Erin Hayes. And personally, I think that's a nod to John Hughes, because the original movie took place in Indiana. So, why are they living in Chicago now? To me, that's a little bit of a John Hughes nod. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I thought of immediately. But anyway, because of the father's passing, they end up taking the kids and driving to Indiana, back to the old house, to take care of mom and sort of celebrate Christmas there while celebrating the loss of Ralphie's father as well. But a lot of things sort of repeat from the first movie. Maybe not in the same exact way, but it's sort of like in Top Gun Maverick, they had a beach football scene instead of beach volleyball. Like, it's not exactly the same stuff, but there are definitely shades of that original movie, and sort of doing some of the same beats, down to the kids wanting things that are maybe a little ridiculous or whatever. But I don't know. I definitely liked this movie more than the first one. I laughed a few times, which I can't say I did in the first one. I will say that the annoying kid trend continues. I think his little kids, they're not as annoying as Ralphie was, but I think they're also a little older too. I don't think either of them are, well, I don't know. It's hard to tell. How young was Ralphie supposed to be? I don't know. Was he like 6 or 7 or something? But in any event, this was an interesting one for me, because I really didn't know what I was going to think of it, just because of my distaste for that first movie. But yeah, I think this deserves to be on a streamer. I don't think this is a theatrical movie like Spirited would have been. I think like a direct-to-DVD or something, or in this case streaming, I think is perfect. The perfect venue for a movie like this. But I think fans of the original really should check it out, because you'll like it, I think, but definitely not as much as the original, because you guys have that attachment to the original, whereas for me, I definitely liked it more, for sure. But it is kind of a similar grade. It's a little bit higher than the original, but whatever. I might be hard on the original, I know, but I will leave A Christmas Story Christmas with a B-. All right, so finally we are going to talk about Netflix's Falling for Christmas. This is Lindsay Lohan in her first major role in about 10 years. This is, seen as a comeback for her. Cord Overstreet plays the beau in question for her love interest, but she plays this really spoiled brat who loses her memory in a skiing accident, lands in the care of a lodge owner played by Cord Overstreet, who, oh my gosh, his wife has just passed, so he's a widower. And he's hunky, and he's a working man, but maybe he has the right recipe, to melt her cold heart. Okay. So they basically, him and his staff and his family and stuff try to sort of trick her into, not being such a stuck up brat kind of thing. It's basically Overboard. If you've seen Overboard with Goldie Hawn, or even the newer version with Anna Faris, it's the same story basically. And because this is, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a Netflix or it's a Hallmark type of movie. It really gives us all the same beats. We always know what's coming. The script is horrible. Lindsay Lohan, and I don't really comment on people's looks on this channel. I'm not Brad Pitt here, but at such a young age, she's younger than me by about 8 years. She's had so much plastic surgery already, that she just doesn't even look like herself. So it's like, oh, touting the return of Lindsay Lohan, but it's like, is it because it looks like someone else? And it's very sad. Her voice is still the same. You could tell, when she speaks or whatever, she's the same girl from Mean Girls and all those old movies that we loved in the early 2000s. But it was honestly a little bit distracting, I have to say. But not as distracting as the horrible script, doing these, these physical comedy things that I think Lindsay Lohan is adept at. It's funny. I don't really blame her for the failings of this movie. I think, look, she was a risky proposition, so no huge studio was going to bankroll her at this point in her life. So, okay, do a couple of these, direct-to-TV, direct-to-streaming kind of movies, build up her credit a little bit. So I don't blame her for, like, taking this role or anything, but she can't do anything to save it. And there's also zero chemistry between her and Cord Overstreet, which, first of all, I don't know if I love that name or hate it, and I've never been able to decide. I think the first time I saw him was on Glee, and I saw his name in the credits, and I'm like, Cord Overstreet? I can't tell if that's a really cool name or if I can't stand it. But anyway, there's no chemistry between the two of them. And look, here's the thing. I don't watch Hallmark Christmas movies. I don't watch the Lifetime Christmas movies. I know there's a huge population out there that watches them year round, and they have them on DVD and all of that, and that's great. You'll probably love this. This is right up the alley. But here's my biggest issue with it. The fact is, it's not a Hallmark Channel movie. It is a Netflix movie. Netflix, has been trying to produce these really big budget type blockbuster kind of movies, Oscar bait movies like The Irishman and stuff like that. Just this year alone, they've had huge big budget movies with Kevin Hart and, The Rock. I don't know if that was this year or last year, but anyway, they can't have it both ways. I can't expect to take them seriously as, a quote unquote studio. I guess they're not really a studio, but if they're going to pump out garbage like this, that is really, it slots right in on the Hallmark Channel. You'd never mistake this for an Oscar potential movie. I just think they're trying to kind of have their cake and eat it too. Like Apple TV Plus, if I see something on that, I know it's probably going to be quality, or if it's not quality, at least I can say, well, they tried, or this is something different. This is not something I would see on, TNT in the afternoon on a Saturday. And that's the exact vibe I get from this. It's actually insulting. And look, I like Lindsay Lohan, I do. And I can appreciate why she took this movie, but this just isn't good. There's nothing really good about it. And so I must failing for Christmas, I call it. So yeah, sad to say. But like I said, if you like those Hallmark movies, you'll probably love it. Because it hits all the beats, and it's, as very white as they all are, and the one dry kiss at the end of the movie, it's there too. So yeah, so really I reviewed them not only from what I had to talk about, but from best to worst. We had, Spirited, I definitely recommend, and I would recommend A Christmas Story as well, even if you've never seen the original. It's not going to make your annual rotation, but I think it's a fun enough Christmas movie, even if you don't know anything about the original. In fact, you may enjoy it more because you'll find it maybe a little more fresh or something. And then, obviously, save the worst for last, Not Falling for Christmas. What a turd. All right, that's it. Like I said, if there's enough Christmas movies still to come on these streamers to do another sort of group video, I may do that. Time dependent. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.